Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and I am back with the weekly race review of this week's new daily races. So if you do enjoy these videos, give us a subscribe, hit the like button, let me know in the comments what you think about this video. Yeah, we do this every single week, so it's a new part of the channel where we review what PDF gave us. So for daily race A, we have Watkins Glen short track in the Jaguar XJ220, a very daily race A race, to be honest. We're in standing start, and you can see here we're getting a reasonable start. Now, we was going to upload a race with quite a bit of a wreckfest race, but I forgot to record that instead. We've got this one, which was a much cleaner affair. I think people have settled into this race a little bit, so probably a better idea of how it's going to run in general. Might not always be this clean, but yeah, it's a reasonable race this. And yeah, it's your usual. It's a supercar at Watkins Glen, short version. It's literally what you would expect from a daily race A. It's nothing special. This car does have very, very weak brakes, so you do need to brake quite early. One thing to point out is you can abuse the downshifting as you can do with most road cars in this game. I'm not sure what the reason for that is. Race cars seem to have some form of downshift protection that will stop it slightly. However, you can still do it a little bit in the race cars, but in the road cars you can really, really abuse the downshifting. Now we can see in front of us we've got a few cars with penalties. That is going to happen on this combination because this car does have a tendency to understeer. It's a little bit of a boat in the corners, so you're going to have to brake and get it rotated quite early. Using the downshifting is very good to help it rotate, as the car in front of us goes a little bit wide there. We use second gear to try and cut up underneath him, and now given a little bit of space on the inside in case anyone sent it back up the inside there, but no one decided to do that, and now we're working our way down to the braking zone. We're going to brake on the 400 board for turn one. You can see how early we're on the brakes in. You can see with the downshifting how aggressive you can be. Look at this, all the way down to first gear, let it bounce off the limiter, back up to second gear. And yeah, it is kind of abusing the system, but it's what the game allows at the moment. You can see it wasn't long before we catch up to P4, who also has a 0.5 second penalty for running wide on a corner. You're going to see a lot of these on this week's Daily Race 8. It's a pretty fun combination to drive, this track, I have to say, in this car. Just not the most... It's not the best race we've ever had as a daily race, so let's be honest. The car does have a tendency to understeer quite a bit, and it is quite heavy in the braking zones, but it's reasonable fun. You're going to get a little bit of chaos, and you're probably going to have a little bit of fun with this, but some drivers, as per usual, will probably ruin this week because there is no DR and SR available, and you're probably going to get a few people just ramming you out the way as is usual on daily race A. I'm not sure about my opinion on whether they should bring DR and SR back into daily race A. Half of me thinks they should, half of me thinks that drivers won't change and they'll still carry on doing that anyway, and you'll lose SR and DR. But yeah, we can see more drivers with a penalty. We're going to get past P4, and P3 also had a penalty a little bit further ahead, so we're closing in on this podium battle and getting a little bit closer there. You can see through this corner, and hopefully going to be able to get an opportunity to go for that podium. He goes a little bit of a weird angle into that corner. I think he got a little bit out of control, and then onto the throttle, manages to save it. So right up behind P3, he's going to go slightly defensive there into the braking zone for turn one. So we're going to go to the left hand side and try and cut back with a little bit better exit speed. However, a car goes up the inside there, we have to kind of back out of that corner and then just sit back behind P3 here. So fast forward on our way on this long straight, being very careful through that section you don't understeer into the barrier. And then as we're coming through the bus stop chicane, we get rather close here and we see an opportunity. This was a real sneaky move again, up into third gear there, use a bit of acceleration, hold the inside, and a nice little overtake up the inside there to put ourselves up into the podium position. And you can see we're coming to the end of lap 4, but we've got quite a big gap to P1 and P2, over 3 seconds to them. However, we did manage to catch them up by lap 7. As you can see, only 1.2 seconds away from the leader and within 6/10 of P2. So some decent laps there. We managed to get the fastest lap of 16.2, reasonable pace around this combination. I'm sure you can get into the 15s with this car if you were to practice it and put some effort into it. But yeah, as usual, I won't be doing too many daily race A's. It's not, like I say, if it was an amazing daily race A, we'd do more, but it's an alright one. It's reasonable, it's entertaining, it's what I expect from a daily race A, really, this kind of combination. So yeah, it's not the worst we've ever had, but it's not exactly the best daily race we've ever had either. So working our way through the final corners, just trying to see if we can get close. You can see very careful on this corner. You have to brake really early and just make sure you don't run wide on this corner, because you can easily pick up a half second there on the exit, and we're going to go over the line for a P3, which isn't bad from the back of the grid. Managed to catch them up towards the end, and yeah, a decent little race, not the greatest race, and I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. I think that is fair. yeah, we've had better daily race areas, let's be honest about that. So let's move on to daily race B, and we are at Suzuka in Group 3. It's 5 laps. We're on racing hard tyres. Now, we do have something slightly different with this race where you can alter the dampers on the car. Bit of an unusual setting to leave on its own to alter, in my opinion. I think that really that's not the best option to have as a single thing to alter. I would have preferred it if it was aero or differential that we could alter. The dampers, it's just a strange thing to alter on its own without being able to change other parts of the suspension. So yeah, strange decision by PD, but this is kind of how PD work. I think I don't know why they do it. Maybe they're trying to find something with the dampers, with what settings people are using in the top 10. Maybe they can get that information, and maybe they're trying to find stuff out. So yeah, no idea why they've done it, but I would have preferred either a differential on its own, or even differential and aero, or even just give us a whole lot to change. Give everything in there. I would quite happily upload all my setups to my channel like we did when the Daytona week was on, and share any setups that we come up with. So yeah, people would always have setups available as long as you're following our channel, so get subscribed if you're not. And yeah, that's my feelings on that one. It's a bit of a strange one, but yeah, we got 5 laps. It's Suzuka, it's Group 3. It's an okay combination. My only problem with Suzuka is it's a very, very difficult track to overtake on. In my opinion, this is always best as a strategy race with tyre wear and a pit stop and 2 different tyres, so that you can work your way through the traffic, starting on the slower tyre, getting an early pit stop, getting a jump on people, because overtaking at this track, especially on hard tyres, is extremely difficult to get close to the car in front. You're basically relying on that car in front making a mistake or losing some time somewhere to give you an opportunity to go for an overtake. It's very, very hard because the straight here isn't very long and it goes into a really fast corner. So that fast corner means it's very hard to follow through that corner. And yeah, I think maybe if this race would have been on soft tyres, might have been slightly easier to follow. As we can see here, we're getting very close to P2, within 3/10 of him, and you can see as we go through the long right hand corner of the 130R, you're going to see I slightly understeer. Also P2 actually does run a little bit wide here, so we send it through there. Maybe sent a little bit too much speed for following the car that close. If we were solo on our own, I think we would have made that one. We've done it at faster than 144, so yeah, it's just a little bit of understeer getting you going off the track. Good thing about that corner now though, since GT Sport, is you don't really get dirty tyres and you don't pick up a penalty for running wide there like that. So you can actually afford to run wide. It's not the fastest way to do it, but you won't get a penalty and you won't get dirty tyres for that corner. So PD have actually made a good move with that on that corner, in my opinion, by stopping that, because it used to spin you out like crazy, that corner. But you can see getting very, very close to P2 through here. But again, not much you can do at Suzuka, and this is why I think Suzuka Group 3 tends to lead itself more to a strategy race in my view. Like, it's not like Spa. When we had Spa the other week in Group 3, it was 5 laps, which was great as well. It's good that they've done 5 laps. However, you could overtake at Spa. You had a really long slipstream zone where you could really get some good battlings and side-by-side action. That isn't going to happen at Suzuka. It's a different type of track. It's pretty much a single file track. You just got to take your opportunities if they arise from mistakes, which is where you're probably going to get your overtakes done, because it's a very tricky track. Very easy to make mistakes. 100% concentration needed on this, and I do love driving Group 3 cars around this track, it has to be said. However, as a sprint race, it's basically whoever has set the fastest trial time. If they make no mistakes, that's who's going to win the race, and that gets a little bit boring in my personal opinion. Not everyone's going to agree with me, but yeah, I think if we had soft tyres, we might be able to follow a little bit closer and get a little bit more racing, but even then, it would probably be just waiting for that mistake to happen. As we're getting very close to P2 now, you can see we're getting really, really, really close to him, and we're going to try and get a good exit off this corner. Rear goes slightly loose because obviously the dirty air when you're getting on the power. However, he makes a mistake as well, and we're going to get the slipstream now and go for a move. The best thing we can do here is just go to the right hand side. He's got that inside covered. However, I don't think he realises we're all the way out here, because he starts pushing me onto the grass, which I have nowhere to go. I can't go onto the grass, so not sure why he did that. Maybe he wasn't aware that he was doing it. I'm not too sure, but into the braking zone, and yeah, not much we can do now. We're just going to have to get back behind him and try and get a good exit, because now we've got that Lamborghini behind us. You can see right up behind us there, that Lamborghini getting on the throttle. We're just going to sit in the slipstream, because as long as we stay in the slipstream, the Lamborghini shouldn't be able to go for a move, but we will go defensive towards the braking zone. So now he's getting a bit closer. Go to the right hand side of the track, and then just hold the inside through this corner. Again, you can see as long as you drive sensibly and defensively smartly, very difficult for any car behind you to really go for a move. Skipping a little bit further on, we got quite close by the end of lap 5. You can see here, got into that position again, so really decided to go for it on the throttle here, but this time we just get a little bit of understeer and the car just doesn't turn, and yeah, that is that move over with. So that was pretty much race over. We're fast forward to the finishing line and we're going to come home in P3. So yeah, it's an alright race. Again, it's not the greatest daily race B we've ever had in my personal opinion. I think PD needs to start doing better with these combinations, and that is why I'm going to give this race, again, pretty average 6.5 out of 10. It's not the worst race we've ever had, let's be honest. It's all right, it's okay combination, but I think it could have been better. So moving on to the final race, and it is daily race C at Autopolis in group 4. It's a fuel saver again, and we all know how these races tend to go by Wednesday, Thursday. We saw it at Nurburgring. This one will be probably worse because Nurburgring actually provides quite good side-by-side racing in group 4. This track, however, is extremely difficult to get an overtake on, even in Group 4. So, wouldn't surprise me if by Thursday or Friday we see the lobbies completely dropping off and not many people racing this combination, because it's just going to get a little bit boring in my personal opinion. And this, I have to be calling this out. Some people probably think that we're moaning, fair enough, whatever. I think that PD can do better than what they're giving us at the moment in terms of track variety, combinations with regards to fuel and pit stop strategies. I think they can do a lot better than what they're currently doing, as we're going to go for a move. Up the inside is Subaru, who clearly did not want us to pass down that right hand side. We had to go onto the grass slightly. We had a massive amount more speed than him, and then he's going to go a little bit deep into the brakes. I think he actually hits the Alpha on the left, but we do manage to get through there and just about get ahead of the Alpha and up into P6. But yeah, I think PD should be doing better with these tracks. There's so many combinations that have yet to be used in daily races, yet we seem to be repeating track after track after track, whether it's in the time trial event, whether it's in a daily race or whatever. We just don't seem to be getting the variety that we should be getting on this game. Let me know in the comment section what you think about that in terms of variety. Do you think we should be getting better variety? Because in my opinion, as a creator, I feel like we're just not getting there with the combinations. There's so many tracks that are not used, as we're going to go for a move up on the inside and into the braking zone and get that P5, sorry, from P6 to P5. And yeah, going okay this race. We're 2 laps in and we're making progress, as you can see from P9 on the grid. A few laps, well, onto the end of lap 2, and we've managed to catch up the battle for the podium here. Not too far away from the lead either. So Ferrari is the car, one of the cars to go for this race. The best cars I would give advice for this race, in my personal opinion, is Ferrari, Mercedes and the Citroen. The Citroen is a very sly car, because you probably wouldn't have expected it, but it's actually really, really strong around this track. We tried it out in the stream today and it was actually really, really good. Really, really fast through the fast corners. Not quite as good on fuel as the Ferrari. However, you can save that fuel in the corners because the car's just got more rotation, so you can kind of just let the car coast a little bit more. So different ways of driving it. Ferrari uses up its fuel on the straights because you can floor it more and get more power out of it, and that's where you get the lap time from. But you can see we're going to get ourselves up to P4 there, and we're challenging now for the lead, not far off the lead in this race. So we've gone from P9 to P4, and you are going to have some okay races on here in terms of battling. You can have a good battle at any track in the world. Any track on this game, you can have a good battle. That's not why I'm reviewing these videos. I'm reviewing it based on the combination and the effort put in by PD in terms of what they're doing. And in my view, this week has to be an all-time low since I've started doing these review videos. They just don't seem to be putting in any sort of effort in creating combinations, whether it be strategy, track variety, cars used. It just seems to be automated in my view. It seems like there's not an actual person creating these now. Like, this race just looks like it's been done by a computer somewhere and no effort's been put in at all, which is not good enough, because it's super easy to create a good race on Gran Turismo. It takes 2 minutes to create a good race with strategy without even putting any thought process in there. You can do it very easily, and there's people out there that are willing to help PD. I'm sure not just myself, I'm sure there's other creators, other people who from the GTL series would quite happily, for free, not taking any, no one would want paying for it. Well, I wouldn't, for sure. I would love to use up some 30 minutes of my free time to give some examples of good combinations that could work with strategy to PD, but I just know that it's not even worth suggesting it to them, because they just don't open up to the community in my view. I think they're too stubborn and too narrow-minded to really listen to what the community are saying. So I'm going to keep saying about this zone. Maybe one day they'll go there, as we're going to go for a move here. This is going for the move for the P2. You can see P2 goes on P3 and goes up the inside there. Danny, a little bit of contact, but we're going to take advantage of that. We didn't make the contact, so up into P3 for myself. Now we're going to skip a little bit further ahead again onto lap 4, and you can see there we've started to catch up to, well, we stayed with Danny there, and Danny has started to catch up to P1. And you can see there our fuel is looking pretty good at this stage of the race. With 6 laps to go, we've still got 6.1 laps of fuel remaining, which is actually more than you need because of the way that the fuel works. As your car gets lighter, your fuel consumption becomes better, so you can push more towards the end. But you can see going into turn 1, they're battling it out. Danny's going for another move up the inside there. He goes a little bit too deep. P2 goes back up to P1, and now we get a really strong exit from that corner. We're going to get a bit of slipstream from Danny, then we're going to tuck underneath the NSX and down the right hand side, and we're going to do a double overtake into this right hand corner. A nice sneaky little overtake there, putting ourselves up into P1 in this race. Now from this position, it's all about just getting back into the rhythm, the fuel saving, and pulling away from the cars behind us. Like I say, the Ferrari is one of the stronger cars here, along with the Citroen and Mercedes. So as long as we drive it pretty sensibly from here, we should be able to pull away. Now this was one of the first races we did on Monday morning, so yeah, we weren't optimal in terms of how we're using the fuel, but we were starting to get there straight away with this Ferrari, because we obviously drove it at Nurburgring and the settings were exactly the same at Nurburgring. So yeah, this is why I'm not too sure it's an individual changing these settings. I think it's some sort of computer that works it out by mileage on the track. That's how we predicted it would be 10 laps as well. Works it out by mileage, just keeps the settings the same, and it's just random. Does this setting work? It doesn't feel like there's much effort being put into this, but yeah, we go over the line there and we're well ahead on lap 8, and I'm going to give you a little track guide now just to give you a rough idea. So going into turn 1, 100 board on the left, that's what we use as our reference. Trail brake it into the corner. Now get on the throttle as early as you can, left hand tyre up onto the curb, and use all that track width for maximum exit speed. Going into the next corner, we're going to use this little bit of grey tarmac just after the 100 board there as our brake reference, down to 3rd gear. Again, trail brake, try and let the car coast a little bit through this section. So lift off the throttle, tiny bit of braking input as we go through here. And again, putting that throttle back on. And then as soon as the car's in a straight line onto the brakes, try and hug the inside of this apex as much as possible. And then early on the throttle, powering your way into this long left-hand corner, which again, right-hand tyre up onto the curb, chuck it into this left-hand corner, tiny bit of trail braking going in just as you're getting close to the apex, and then get on that accelerator and use the full width of the track up into the next braking zone, which we're going to use the left-hand arrow just before the 50 board. You can see it just there, onto the brakes, down to 2nd gear, let the car rotate, left-hand tyre just clips the curb on the left, then onto that throttle as early as you can, and now we're going to power down into this right-hand corner, which again, we're going to brake in between the 100 and the 50 board, so just about there, onto the brakes, 4th gear if you can, all the way through this corner. I made a little bit of a mistake there, how to go down to 3rd, and then again, slight braking input, let the car coast, then onto the throttle, and then you're trying to swing it back into this left-hand corner, and then onto the brakes just before the curb on the right here, down to 2nd gear. Try and keep the car in the middle of the track here. You don't really want to run too far to the left, and then upshift to 3rd gear, use the curb on the left, and then as soon as your car's up onto the width of the track there, chuck it into this left-hand corner. Try not to put too much braking input in that corner, and then onto the brakes at the start of the curb on the right-hand side there. Again, keeping the car narrow to this curb seems to be the best way to do it, and then power your way all the way over the finishing line. And we're going to go over for a race lap in the race with hard tyres there, 53.9. We've done a 51.7 in qualifying, I think, with the Ferrari. But yeah, that is Daily Race C. It's a bit of a static affair, I have to be honest. We've had races where no one's changed position, so I've got to be honest with you, this is one of the worst races we've reviewed since this videos have come out reviewing the races, and it's going to be a 5.5 out of 10. I think that's being generous as well, to be honest, but yeah, I think it's fair. So overall this week, it's not the greatest. It's a 6 out of 10, purely because of Daily Race B. Now, let me know what you think in the comments for this week's races. How would you rate them individually, Daily Race A, B, or C? Give me what score you'd give them. Make sure you also get subscribed to the channel. We're getting very close to 60,000 subscribers, so it would be amazing if you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It all helps me grow. But yeah, I'll see you all soon for more content and more videos. Thanks again, everyone. Bye.